Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you. Sending love to, I don't know, Fabrice in Paris and Bensi in LA and everybody everywhere else, Masiek in Poland and Stand Down the Block. All right, friends, there's a lot going on. I want to make sure that we ground ourselves again in this week of goodness that has been created by family members of hostages. This is a week of goodness that began on Sunday with singing at Tachana Rishonah, the first station in Jerusalem, continued with a day of learning, with people all over the world learning the Torah and Talmud many times over. Today is our 1096th broadcast, but what grounds us in this moment is that today is also day 286 since October 7th, and the families of the hostages are doing everything in their power, going to the ends of the earth, making sure to speak everywhere that will have them, to amplify the lives of all of those still being held in darkness. We are plugged into that. This is our family we're talking about. And so, inasmuch as there are other things going on in the world, that is where our hearts are. Today's activity, as part of the Week of Goodness, is the dedication of a new scroll, a new Torah scroll, in a beautiful davening community, a shul community in Baka, in Jerusalem, in honor of Hirsch Goldberg Poland. There is a live broadcast. Oh, I see my colleague just posted the link. There's a live broadcast of the dedication of the Torah. I want to read you the invitation that if you accept that link on Facebook, you'll be able to participate in the dedication of the Torah. It says, Hachnasat Sefer Torah, inauguration of a Torah scroll. The family of hostage Hirsch Goldberg Poland is commissioning the writing of a new Torah. The family invites you to dedicate the new scroll with song and prayer. And so, friends, I hope that you will be present and that you will click on that link so that you can be part of this energy in the merit of the release of Hirsch and the rest of the hostages. Let's learn a little bit of Torah as we do every day, but as we do with extra intention this week, connected with our family all over the world, so that we can be part of davening, learning, and acting for the sake of the release of the hostages. Please, God, may they come home soon. May they come home soon. So, Parshat Balak, where we find ourselves, we've talked about the general story a few times, but to contextualize one specific moment in the Parsha, there is a prophet named Bilam who is hired by a king named Balak, and the prophet is hired to go curse Bnei Israel, the Israelites, the Jews, because it's clear to the king that he cannot defeat them militarily. He cannot defeat us militarily, which is another way of saying that our strength, our great strength as a people for thousands of years, even with the strength of our military, thank God for it, in the state of Israel, is spirit. And he knows that the way to knock us down is to knock us down in our hearts, in our souls, in our connections to God. Now, at first, Bilam, who does have access to God, speaks to God the first night that the messengers from King Balak have invited him to come be to his new client, the king, so that he would go curse the Jews. And he has them stay overnight, and he speaks to God that night. And God says, no, you may not go. And so Bilam says to the messengers of Balak, I'm not going. God said, no, I'm not going. The messengers return to Balak. Then they come a second time back to Bilam, this time with more wealth and more flattery. It sounds like shuttle diplomacy with incentivized offers. And they say, come. And he says, stay the night, I'll talk to God again. And God says, all right, you can go, but you can only say the words that I put in your mouth, meaning he's a prophet and he has access to God and he's called to use his power for good. Now, it's interesting that God changes God's mind. And what makes it even stranger is that along the way, when Bilam is headed towards Balak, an angel, which we talked about yesterday, an angel with an outstretched sword appears along the way. And Bilam can't see him, or can't see it, the angel. The angel doesn't have gender. The donkey does. And I want to read you one verse, because at a certain point, Bilam does see the angel. After hitting the donkey a few times, which is a terrible demonstration in the Torah of tsar ba'alei causing pain to another creature, Bilam's eyes are opened after the donkey speaks and says, "Don't you see what I see?" When Bilam sees that there's an angel there, he suddenly says, "Maybe I shouldn't be doing this," which he already knew. And this is the language in the Torah. It's chapter 22, verse 35 in Bamidbar. I'm just going to read the Hebrew and the English. Vayomer Bilam el malach Adonai chatati, ki lo yadati, ki ata nitzav likrati badarech, ve'ata imra be'inecha ashuva li. Here's one translation. Bilam said to the messenger of God, "I erred, because I did not know that you were standing in the way. If you still disapprove, I will turn back." Now the angel says, "No, go, but you are only allowed to say what God puts in your mouth." But I want to point out some of the punctuation here and then share a comment. It's a fascinating thing because what Bilam says to the angel is, "I sinned." How did I sin? Ki lo yadati. I sinned by not knowing you were there. Now, I shouldn't have done this, Bilam should say. I shouldn't have done this because I shouldn't have done this. But what he does is he says, "Oh, I sinned. I didn't know you were there." And one of the most interesting comments on this is from the Iturei Torah, which is a collection of Hasidic comments on every verse of the Torah. This is the comment. I'll just read it from a translation. "This is surprising. What's the sin? If he didn't know that the angel was there, what was the sin?" The answer is that there are times when not knowing is itself the sin. For example, if a child strikes a parent, they cannot justify it by saying they didn't know it was forbidden to strike your parents. A captain of the guard of the king cannot say that they didn't know who the king was. This is the case of a prophet and an angel. If the prophet says that he didn't know that the angel was stationed before him, that's the sin. This is what Bilam said, "I sinned because I didn't know. As a prophet, I should have known that the angel stood before me. Not knowing was the sin itself." And so this is a point that I wanted to bring home just for a moment today, which is that there is a lot demanding our attention in the world. We cannot pretend we don't see it. It's everywhere because of the scourge of social media, which we try to use for good, but we know is complicated at best. It is clear that things in front of us require prolonged attention. This is day 286 since October 7th, and whereas other people show that they are unwilling to keep their eyes open, we dare not. And if we close our eyes even for one moment, we fall into the trap that at least Iturei Torah believes that Bilam fell into, that maybe he walked into with intention. After all, the first time he spoke to God, God said, "Don't go." The second time he spoke to God, God said, "Well, go, but you can only say what I say." Bilam should have known from this language that he shouldn't have gone. And when he does go, and the donkey opens Bilam's eyes, and then Bilam sees what he should have seen the entire time, he said, "Chatati." May we never be in a position where what was right in front of us and what was our obligation to notice and respond to, we ever pretend we didn't see it. Because chatati is a big word. It's often translated as "I sinned." But chatati means chet, I missed the mark. These marks are right in front of us. The needs of our family, including the hostages, including Am Yisrael, including every human being, all of whom are created in the image of God. We are called to pay attention to it all. And if you think that's a lot, you're right. It is a lot. But it is what we are called to do. And what I want to bless us to do right now is to be brave enough to keep our eyes open. May we be brave enough to notice what we are called to notice. and to never be cursed truly by having that moment of deep regret where we say to ourselves, it was right in front of me and I just didn't look. We can't unsee, friends, what we see. And once we see it, we are obligated to respond with all the love and sensitivity and fierce power, the capacity to be a blessing of love in this world. We cannot be anything less. You see it? You do. If you see something, do something. That's what Bilam failed worst at. He wasn't able to curse Bnei Israel. God grabbed the curse and took it out of the air and turned it into a blessing. But our obligation right now is to stop the curse before it becomes a curse, because vulnerable people are right in front of us too. And we are our sisters' keepers. We are our brothers' keepers. If you're tired because the world is so demanding, I get it. Take a nap and then wake up ready to respond because you saw something. So again, summing up this whole mini drash, if you see something, do something. May we be blessed, friends, to never close our eyes. May we find beautiful things to see too, so that our eyes also have blessing entering into our souls through them. Today is day 286 since October 7th. Today is a day where a new Torah is going to be dedicated in solidarity with and in the merit of all the hostages being brought home. At 1 p.m. today, the family of Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, is dedicating a new Torah in their shul in Baka in Jerusalem. You can be a part of it. Once you see that, you are implicated. Well, you saw the invitation that I just sent you. You're implicated. Friends, whatever you see in front of you, that's yours to see. And then figuring out how to respond like a mensch, to make this world just a little bit closer to the way it always should have been. In our story, the donkey sees it first. Let's not be far behind. Okay, friends, let's send our hearts to the east. Take a second. Send all the strength and warmth and love you can to the hostages themselves, to their families, to our sisters and brothers. Make your heart even bigger. Send it everywhere. Send it to the children in Gaza. Send it to the children of Jerusalem. Send it to the displaced families from the north and the struggling families in the south. Send it to those who are aid workers, trauma therapists, first responders, educators, children's teachers. Send it to the soldiers that they come home safe and that the fighting is not needed very soon. And also send it to yourself. Give yourself the gift of taking a deep breath and knowing that you are strong enough for this moment. You are more than strong enough. We have work to do, and we can do it. That's its own kind of blessing. So united, let's send our hearts to the east. Kol hod balevav pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia od lo avda tikvatenu hatikva bat shnot alpayim liot am chofshi be'artzenu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim liot am chofshi be'artzenu eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, friends. Take care.